Welcome to the Be a Human in Business show with your hosts, Tracy Borison, founder and personal branding coach at TLB Coaching and Events, Tara Argo, founder and relationship strategist at Argo Operations, Tawana Taylor, founder and project management consultant at Bootstrap Dreams, Debbie Akwara, founder and principal consultant at Niche Customer Experience Consulting Firm. Let's start the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Be a Human in Business show. And we are so excited to have our lovely Debbie back with us today. Woo! And look at her party shirt. She even has a party shirt on.
Yes.
This is so awesome. And we're so excited to bring all of this Be a Human in Business crew goodness back to you guys on a very important topic that we're going to discuss today. Chasing accolades versus impact for the greater good. So I'm going to throw it to Debbie because we've just missed Debbie talking, and Debbie gets to kick us off for today because this also originated from one of Debbie's ideas and Debbie's experience in the market. So Debbie, tell us about chasing accolades versus the impact for greater good and why maybe there's a problem there.
Why the thought? Yes, it's so glad to be back, ladies. I missed you all tons. Right. So, I mean, this whole thought came to me this is October. So like first week in October is packed with customer service week. And then you have the customer experience day. And everywhere you look on social media, there's one thing or the other about, it's customer service week. We thank all our employees. We thank everybody. You're thanking even the children unborn. You're thanking everybody. And then there's CX day, right? It got me thinking, what exactly are we celebrating? Someone actually asked me, we didn't see anything from you about customer service week. We didn't get anything from you on CX day. And I said, I post about these things every day. I talk about it every day. So why do I need to wait for 1 week in a year to appreciate my team and to appreciate customers? It doesn't make sense. But that aside, it got me thinking about specifically CX as a profession. And everybody, great, we had the great stuff, congratulate this, celebrating that. And I'm looking at all the posts I see on LinkedIn about how bad customer experience is. And I'm asking myself, what exactly has CX achieved? We have association, we have certification. What is the impact? In the city where I live, there's a cafe I go to buy coffee every morning. And on one day, I was calling ahead to let them know I was just going to drive through and pick my favorite cup of caramel macchiato. And I was told they had closed shop. And I was sad. And my instincts were, how could CX have saved this business? What exactly are we celebrating? We're getting awards for CX. People are getting awards. People are awards judged. There's so much going on. What impact have we made when there's still so much bad experiences? And it got me thinking about, what do we chase? This is beyond CX now, even in life. You have Forbes 40 under 40, Forbes 30 under 30, Forbes children years unborn, they're already been ranked, Amazon bestseller, everything leads with some. What are we chasing? Are we chasing recognition or are we chasing impact for the greater good? And like you were talking about this, TJ, before we came on, in terms of the recognitions that you've gotten, most of them you didn't plan for it, right? Because of where your heart was. And that's the human element for me. What's the driving force to you chasing accolades? Is it for you? Or are you chasing the accolades for the greater good? Even if it's your business, every business is set up to solve a problem. So you can turn your business around from a sustainable entrepreneurship perspective and impact your community, impact life, but still make money, still make profit, right? So if you look at Airbnb, if you look at brands like Airbnb, like Uber, they've taken a problem, they've solved the problem, and they've also created income streams for people who have cars, don't have jobs. So it just got me thinking, ladies, it got me thinking about it, like, what exactly do we chase as human beings, as professionals, as business owners? Do we go chasing accolades for bragging rights? Or do we chase impact, get the accolades, and use the accolades to make more impact. What do you think, ladies?
Ooh.
Well, Tawana, do you want to hit it? Our most awarded person on this panel?
Oh, please. I doubt it. So yeah. Before we started recording, I shared that I am one of us who has awards and whatnot on my LinkedIn profile, particularly, and have acronyms behind my name specifically. And the awards that I am the most proud of, dare I have pride and say, right? The ones that I'm most proud of the 10 that I have listed, 8 of them were completely unsolicited. Those are the ones that I am most proud of. Those are the ones that bring me the greatest smile because I was just doing my thing, right? I was just showing up for whatever work or whatever impact or whatever initiative was required of me, and did it the way I knew how to do it, or the way that I was instructed to do it, or the way that I was passionate about doing it, and someone saw it and decided it was to be recognized in whatever way that was. Now, I can show you my office. Tell me what awards you see hanging up. None, right? So for me, it's not that they aren't important. They are cool because when they get them, it's like, yay, that means doing good work. But I'm telling you, we have instances in life where we do chase or we do seek after external validation for whatever the case may be. Yet, even when those were gained, the ones that have given me the greatest sense of joy, that have affirmed that I am aligned with the work that I'm doing, or that somebody else's life was positively impacted by that work, were the ones, the accolades that I did not seek. I just sought to be doing the good work that I was responsible for doing. And we talk often on this show, about being a human and being accountable, being transparent, being, identifying where do these things come from? Like, where's the root of it? And when we talk about the accolades that we are getting, again, we're not saying right or wrong. It's just when we go after them and when we get them, then what? Right? What did it mean? What drove you to want that? And is it something that's truly a value that is beyond you? Or is it something that you're self-seeking because you're trying to find yourself as worthy? And more visible doesn't make you more valuable, right? So those who haven't been awarded doesn't mean that they are valueless, doesn't mean that they aren't out here doing great work, doesn't mean they aren't giving time, money, talent, gifts, words of encouragement to others so that the impact is not only made, but is sustainable, right? And can be passed along. These papers, these degrees, and these trophies, what's my daughter going to be able to do with them when I move on in life from this side of living? Nothing, right? Nothing, unless something happens and I become some type of major billionaire at some point and somebody wants to auction them off on eBay. She's not going to get any value from those, but hopefully the work that I've done will speak for me and for her life and will be character driven and will be, those things can be passed along, or people can speak into her in my absence because of the encounter that they had with her mother. That's what I'm hoping for. But it definitely, we have to self-reflect and see, like, what is driving me to get these things? And sometimes it's society, sometimes it's what somebody did or didn't say to us as a child, sometimes it's family demands, right, or expectations, sometimes it's a sense of self-worth. We think the external is going to answer that, and those of us who have done some deeper work know nothing outside of you is going to fix the inner you. So that's what comes to mind, Debbie, when you ask, and Tracy, when you point out like awards, what are we chasing and why are we doing it? There are a number of different things that have driven me to seek like degrees and certifications. And then there are other things that are like the virtual assistant services in my business, the referring virtual assistants who are from other countries to help, you as small business owners who maybe can't afford their domestic, right, professional or colleague, I'm just like, it's changing lives, right? It's not, it's not like, oh, I want to do this to make some certain amount of money, because it doesn't cost me anything, right, to do it. It's like, I want to see the same way I want my time, freedom, and flexibility. There's another person on the other side of the world that wants the same thing. They want the same thing. Why not? Why not? And if you can't afford your local domestic virtual assistant that has valued him or her rate at $50 or more an hour, but you can get it for 10 or 15, why not? Why not? A change in currency doesn't mean a change in quality, right? It's where you are. Start where you are and get that great value, be of service, and help someone else along the way while you're serving. Tara, what are your thoughts? I see your head nodding.
No, I just was thinking, what was coming up for me is that, do we make these accolades like our idols, right?
Ooh.
So for me, it's thinking like, at what point do we think, oh, we have to chase this because society's told us that we need this, right? Because it doesn't validate us.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately. It may give us some additional confidence, or it may put us ahead of the rest, or whatever, set us apart. But I think being self-aware, and something that you said, Tawana, made me think of, like, looking internally at why we do things is really key in this situation, but also thinking about, it doesn't make you better or worse. There's a lot of times, before we hopped on today, there's a lot of times we were talking about that there aren't even awards for things, right? And people aren't recognized for that. So, at that point, it doesn't even matter, because there aren't even opportunities to get those. So I think being aware, and then thinking about, is this really serving as kind of an idol for me? Like, is it really going to serve me down the road or not? So that was what was really coming up for me.
That's good.
Well, and one of the things that I keep thinking is that you just look at two people. One of them has an award. One of them doesn't have the award. This award did not innately change your value as a human. And I think a lot of times we treat it like it does, right? You won an Academy Award. You won this X. I keep thinking of, like, the one award that I've won is a Stevie Award for Employee of the Year. And I know that the company I worked for paid for the application for it, right? And there's enough awards that I have seen that are just like pay to plays, where, like, I'm the top 10, whatever, because I paid $2,500 to be listed among the top 10 and no one else wanted to, right? Like, so a lot of that really doesn't mean anything. I've just seen that so many times, and that for me now, I wouldn't say that I'm anti-accolade, but for me personally, I have no drive. I have no desire for that, right? Like, at one point in my life, I was like, oh my God, if I'm not on Forbes 40 under 40, then I failed in my career, right? And you're like, is that true? Because there's a lot of people who have been very successful who don't get on lists like that. And I think it's just this mindset of, I've been talking a lot about, like, I do this, I'm in personal branding, right? Like, you have innate value as a human, based on what you do, based on what you care about, based on your values, how you live them, the experience that you create for people. And none of that is related to an accolade. And so whether you have one or whether you don't have one, it's not that having an accolade specifically is bad. It's just that it doesn't change who you are as a person. So who are you being as a person? We said it a whole bunch of times in a bunch of different ways, right? What's driving you? Why do you show up? What is this experience? And it's the experience piece that always brings it back to customer experience to me, because I actually had somebody call me a customer experience professional the other day, and I was like, that's weird. I don't consider myself that. But what I do consider myself is a human experience professional. And creating human experiences that mean something to people. And historically, I've done that in the marketing arena specifically, but it's about people. It's about people. At the end of the no anything else on that. It's about people. And when you think about the concept of chasing an accolade, chasing that Forbes 40 under 40, right? Like, what happens to your experience for people? Are people getting sacrificed along the way? Or are people still important? Have people, like Tawana, you shared, a lot of your accolades have come from the experience you created and people recognizing you for that, right? Like, that's amazing. And even if it's just a high five, right? If we're just high five, like I'm all over the high fives on my Peloton. Yeah. That is. Or Tara, I'd love for you to quickly share your experience at the Girl Scout camp this past weekend, because what it showed, yes, it's right on her desk. What it shows is that people are feeling your experience. They're picking up on what's important to you, and they are recognizing you in tiny ways. And I would like Tara to share this example, just because it's a great example of a tiny way that you can celebrate a person for who they actually are.
Yeah, it was a really interesting experience. So we had to create mirrors at the Girl Scout camp, and we had to write "I am special" on our mirror and decorate it. So you can see my little mirror that I had decorated. And then on the back, we were supposed to write our name and write it down. And so somebody else would draw our name, and then they would write things about us. How, I guess, basically how they perceived us, because I didn't know anyone there. I maybe knew them for about 8 hours. And so they wrote T. So I wrote my name, and then they wrote down T is for thoughtful, E is for enthusiastic, R is for responsible, the other R is for reliable, and A is for authentic. That's how this lady perceived me. I had known her for maybe like 8 hours, right? And that, I literally was like in tears. Now I'm never going to leave this thing. It's just this little bitty thing that's made with tinfoil, right? But it was a perception that I had never really even realized that I'm giving off, right? And it's that human experience. And so it meant a lot, because I'm all about authenticity. It's one of my core values. And for her to say I'm authentic, that was the number one thing that made me more excited. And it was very simple.
And it's like some of those things are just so meaningful, right? Like that can be your accolade. Like, you guys, look, someone just told me I am what I am, which means I am showing up that way.
We're showing up that way. And this brings up, like, Debbie, if we can go back to you, the foundation of customer service. I definitely love the way Tracy said, customer experiences are about human experiences. And Debbie, as you triggered this whole dynamic about what are we celebrating? What are we doing? What are we doing here? What is the impact that we're making? What does it all go back to for you when we think about customer service, and we think about the acknowledgments that people and or businesses need to receive in order for the experience to be satisfactory? What comes to mind?
Debbie's stuck on mute.
Can you hear me? Okay, cool. I was trying to mute myself. Can you hear me? I was trying to mute myself. So what comes to mind? I think we're rounding this up. I love where the conversation is going, and we're not down to the human experience. That's what it is. That's what it is. It all comes down to the human experience. That's it. Because the reason why anyone wants to go into business, because you want to offer value to a human being. We kind of think that, okay, businesses are not human as well, but they are human. Businesses are actually human. To be honest, they are. So, I mean, there's a school of thought that there's no such thing as B2B or B2C, it's human to human, right? And there's something that resonated as you all were speaking again is, have you ladies realized that the best inspiration comes when you're driven by the greater good? Have you noticed the best inspiration you have in terms of ideas, it comes when you're driven by the greater good. So if as a business, my goal is to make sure that I meet your needs as a customer, no matter the length I have to go through. And I'll give you an example, 2 different examples. One store, I bought coffee. I usually buy coffee from them every morning, my caramel maker, so I buy it every morning. And I buy it to go. So someday I bought it to go, I got biscuits, I got to the office, I was about to just sit down and enjoy. And I had a sip, and it was so watery, it didn't taste like what I've been buying. I was really mad because it's expensive coffee, not cheap coffee. I went online, I got their number, I called them, and then it says, oh, we're very sorry about that, just manage. I'm like, excuse you, manage what? I paid for it and it's not cheap coffee. Can I speak to your manager? Now she gives the manager the phone, and the manager says, I'm so sorry, where exactly are you now? They took my address and sent a courier to me with a new cup of coffee at no cost. Now, another person, it didn't, and that was cost to the business. But at that point in time, I mean, they probably know I come in every morning and pick coffee. Another scenario, I was making a dress. I wanted to make a dress for a location. I have been looking for an outfit for 3-4 days. And then I walk into the store and I find something. I try it, it fits, but the size wasn't right. I like my gown really flowy. And I was jumping and dancing in the store that I have found the perfect dress. But she said she could fix it and make it longer. Now I go back to pick it up a day before my event, 2 days before my event, and it wasn't done right to my taste. I'm very hard to please. And then she tells me, there's nothing I can do. Do you want a refund? So for me, that's like, if you think back about me as a human being that has been looking for an outfit for 3 days, right? Your response to me should not be, do you want a refund? Which means I'm back to where I started. Do you know, ladies, for that reason, I already just had 2 additional stuff to make for me. I canceled my order.
Yeah.
So it's the greater good. If she's like, oh, this particular lady, she has to go for an event, I can't meet her need. What else can I do? There's nothing wrong with giving me a refund, but it's the thought. It's the thought.
Yes.
So it's again, the best inspiration for business. And if I want to talk about some lady who I know is very dear to my heart, Claire Mascot, right? She started the Women in CX community. And I noticed there was a list published in terms of top women in CX. So she brought recognition to women in CX, which is a male-dominated industry, right? And so along the line, some list was a list. I was on the list, by the way. Yay! Published, top 33 women in CX. And then this week, I saw a Women in CX event, and all these 2 things are not clear. So her idea, which started as connecting with women in CX, the podcast, us sharing our authentic self, who we are as human beings, has started a movement that people are latching onto, right? So she's recognized for tons of things, but it's for the greater good. And she has triggered a movement.
Yes.
So it comes down to, what really drives us. We should focus on accolades are good. I love accolades. I'm not going to complain. I have a couple, right? But if I look at the accolades I get, can I connect them to my brand? Absolutely. I can't connect them to my brand story. And then what that does for me is, how do I take this to the next level and pulling more people and impact more professionals and grow more businesses? That's pretty much how I would summarize my thoughts on that. Tracy?
I think this is just one of the things that I love about those examples, Debbie, is that there was one person, so the first example, who thought, what can I do to fix this? And the second example was just like, like the creative thinking into how to solve the problem just doesn't exist. And I think partially that's because depending on the organization, we either give people the ability to do that or we don't. Like when it's a manager, managers can kind of do what they want to save the client. I know there's been times in my very first job, and I am like super customer service focused. I was not customer facing, but I got a call from a customer and I was responsible for automated voice messaging. So you guys can imagine how many happy people there were from that. But I had a lady call and she was so mad because we had called her like work phone and she was out of the country at the time. So she had all these like crazy charges because we had called her with this promo message. And she was rightfully upset about that. I, as the person taking the call, had absolutely nothing I was allowed to do to help that person, right? Like I wasn't able to give her the money to pay for that call or what, like I couldn't do anything. And so it was the worst feeling for me because I wanted to help her and I couldn't help her. And that was because of the handcuffs put on me by my organization. And so it's really interesting to look at that types of things, especially when our companies start to grow. Like, are we giving our people the ability to creatively solve like the problem that the customer has? Because if we're not, then we're always just focused on here's the rules of how you manage a customer. Every customer is different. Every human is different. Everybody's experience is different, right? Like, even if I went into the same dress shop and had the exact same issue, but I didn't need my dress the next day, right? Like, the response could be different. And so it's so important to bring this conversation to the forefront, because if people don't have the space to be a human in business, if we've handcuffed people out of being a human in business, then we'll never have that showing up on our end customer experience NPS score, or whatever way you're measuring that, right? And it's funny because I know we talk about, like, we're talking specifically about customer experience today, but this is relevant in all the parts of your business, you guys. Like, when you look at it from the marketing perspective, I'm allowed to say certain things. I'm not allowed to say other things that might actually help somebody better understand my product, or might help a salesperson sell my product better, or like I'm handcuffed in the customer service. As Tawana, I'm sure you have examples of being handcuffed in the operations side of it. And it's just like, what are we handcuffing people to? And if we're going to handcuff people to anything, could it be the concept of being a human in business?
Yeah. And even, be challenged to remember that our customers are both internal and external. So while you may not be serving the ultimate end user, you taking care of your internal teams, whether you're having to manage up or whether you're having to manage down, will have a direct impact on the people they're facing, right? And so just knowing who your customer is and knowing what you are accountable for will help you function. Like another example where I can tell the customer service representative, if I may address her as that way, on the phone, there was a booking, right? I was traveling and the website said one thing and the booking and charges said something else, right? And it's like, well, is this false advertisement or, right? Like, is this clickbait or what? What is going on here? And I can genuinely tell by her responses, because, there's a script. When you're in operations and stuff, you get it, right? I can genuinely tell by her responses that she was handcuffed. She was handcuffed, yet her human experience that she gave to me, I still stayed with that particular property. I still wanted to be in that area. I still wanted to do business and gave them a great review, because ultimately it wasn't about the money. It was about the customer experience, right? It was about the human experience. And even though there was nothing she could do to satisfy the discrepancy, I felt like there was enough humanity behind the brand that still made me want to go there to be serviced, right? And then to be of service by providing a review to others to say, hey, go anyway, right? So it's even when you feel like you can't, do what you can. Do what you
yourself. Be you, show up caring what you care about. This is an interesting example, and I just want to quickly say, and I know Debbie is on a time limit, but this is not to say that nothing will ever go wrong, right? Because stuff will go wrong. I remember being stuck on a flight in New York because someone had a heart attack on the plane, and then we had to wait on the tarmac for 3 hours because we needed a new flight plan. The airline did not plan on this guy having a heart attack on the plane, okay? And they did such a great job. They gave us free food, and was it kind of miserable sitting there next to a very small baby for 3 hours on the tarmac? Yes, it was, but that's not their fault, right? This is life. But when you show up and you take care of the people in the best way that you can, when the opportunity is presented to you, it will make a difference.
I have one quick thing to add to that really fast. So Debbie, when you were talking about those examples, I really liked them as well, because in my mind, what I was thinking was that when I'm showing up, I always want to think of how can I serve this person? So if something's not working out, my initial thought is how can I fix this? Right. And I think that's something that we don't do is we don't think about, well, how can I fix this? We immediately say, oh, well, I'll just give you a refund. No, like we have to put that into our mind that this is what we do at this point. If there's a problem, you try to fix the problem. You don't just say, and that comes down to a training thing and all these other issues. But I think if we change our mindset around, we're here to serve them and we're here to serve our customer and we're doing it by this. And if this isn't working, then I need to figure out how to make them happy, right? Or how to fix it, especially if they're in a, so anyways, that's what I had to say because that was coming up for me as we were talking, is I think that some of it comes down to how we serve people to begin with.
All right, Tawana, you want to hit it up on a summary of all of this good stuff we talked about today?
Sure. So today we talked about, chasing accolades versus the impact for the greater good. Ask yourself, do some reflection and really think, what are you celebrating? What's driving you? More visible doesn't make you more valuable. We're not saying accolades are right or wrong. We're just saying, like Debbie expressed it so greatly, let it be tied to your personal and or professional brand, right? Let your work speak for you. Customer experiences are about human experiences. The best inspiration comes when we are driven by the greater good. Your customers are both internal and external, and do what you can to elevate the human experience.
Oh, so good. And you guys, I don't know, I'm so glad to have Debbie and her round of applause back. We didn't do a single round of applause while you were gone.
We didn't.
Maybe like
no.
what?
Maybe, I don't know, but now we
I
can.
can't remember.
We can do it again. So good to have everybody back together. You guys stay tuned for another episode coming soon from our amazing crew. And until then, remember, be a human.
Be a human.